And welcome back to Dirty Hands of the Republic. I'm Tom Nixon. This is my partner, Joe Fenwick. Glad you all could join us. So it's a new year. It's time to start talking about legal updates. We're all getting those classes for police officers and talking about what statutes have changed in the Texas Penal Code and the Health and Safety Code and all the other codes that affect our jobs for those of us who are police officers out there. And so we want to talk about one thing that I've noticed, I don't want to say a lot of, but a lot of questions about that don't ever seem to get answered. So one of the new statutes that have come out that I've learned is 4602 of the Texas Penal Code, and that deals with the unlawful carrying of a weapon. Now, police officers are people, right? Under the law, they are persons, and people drink. They get intoxicated. So what happens if someone is carrying a weapon? Because we now have constitutional carry in the state of Texas, right? And you don't have to obtain a concealed handgun license in order to carry a weapon. And we have open carry and we have concealed carry. If you don't have a concealed handgun license, you have to make sure it's concealed, unless, of course, your display of the weapon is inadvertent and it's in a holster or something like that. Like, in other words, you're not carrying it in your hand, or it's not hanging from a necklace, for a rap video or something like that. Then that's excused from prosecution. However, what applies to everyone is if you're carrying a weapon and you happen to be drinking, right? So you can't be intoxicated and carrying a firearm. What if you're a police officer, though, and you're off duty and you're out with your friends and you start drinking and you have your weapon? Is that an offense?
I guess it depends on if you live in a blue or red county.
Well, in Texas, it's an offense, from what I can tell. And it falls under 4602A6, which reads specifically, a person commits an offense if the person carries a handgun while the person is intoxicated and is not on the person's own premises or property, under the person's control, or on private property with the consent of the owner, or inside of or directly en route to a motor vehicle or watercraft.
Do they give a definition of intoxicated?
They do not. That I can find. I suspect I suspect the standard is the same one used for public intoxication, which is a danger to yourself or others.
Well,
because that seems to be the universal definition of intoxicated, unless you're dealing with a DWI, or if you're operating a boat or an airplane, intoxicated.
Yeah. Well, all those you blow right into
yes.
Okay. So once again, I said it will determine whether you're in a red or blue county.
Oh, I see your point.
So, yes. If a police officer is caught, especially evil white police officer, is caught with a sip of beer, then it's going to be intoxicated.
Right.
Okay. In a blue county. In a red county, they'll probably go, yeah, you had a beer.
Right. Well, so there's no defense to prosecution that you're a police officer. There's no exception to it that I can find under 4602. It just says, all it ever says is person, and person defined is, just exactly that. There's no, there's nothing that ferrets out, somebody who, like a federal agent or something. There's nothing that says that. So I can't find an exception to that part of the penal code. So if you are a police officer, federal agent, whoever, and you're out in Texas drinking and you happen to have your weapon on you, if you're carrying your weapon, I wouldn't drink. Period.
At all, yeah.
Yeah. Just because the subjective definition of intoxicated is so open to interpretation.
Exactly.
It just leaves it open for abuse, really, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But if you are going to go out and if you are going to drink, then I wouldn't take your weapon with you, because then, you're carrying your weapon. And then, of course, if you're pulled over for DWI and you've got your weapon in the car, then they're going to ask, well, was it under your seat or was it in the trunk? because that's actually in the the code, because it's not accessible or is accessible. So that's one of the few exceptions of is if you do have your weapon, lock it in the trunk. I guess is your only option. Like if you're off duty, your friends are out, you decide to go to a bar, you're hanging out at the bar, you start drinking. The only thing you can really do is lock your weapon up in your trunk, but then you don't want to drive, because if you get arrested for DWI, the department will hammer you for that.
Yes.
You're going to have to take Uber or Lyft, but that's about the only way you can.
And even if you take Uber or Lyft and you're drunk and you're carrying.
Because I have seen officers off duty intoxicated. I'm not going to lie.
Well, I've seen officers drinking off duty, and that's what I'm talking about. There's no definition of intoxicated and this can be abused for civilians too.
Right.
Horribly abused.
Right.
Anybody he's drunk carrying a gun, drunk, how drunk? There needs to be some sort of specific explanation for what is intoxicated.
Right. And so this all comes out of House Bill 1927, which was signed into law by the 87th legislature of the state of Texas. So if you want to read it, you can. It's actually on the website for the state legislature. You can read the whole House Bill 1927, and all the amendments that they're attaching to all these different statutes are there. And I'm just trying to focus on the few that I think people might have the biggest issues with. Obviously, because I want to keep people out of trouble.
Yes, that's exactly it.
You don't want to get fired. It's not worth it. So if you want to avoid
this
that.
is just ripe for a command staff that wants to get rid of you.
Yes.
It's just ripe for it.
So what's the solution if you're going to go out and drink and you're not sure what to do? Maybe take, pepper spray with you. But you know what I noticed isn't in there is tasers. Like, I wonder if I've never seen an exemption from carrying your taser off duty.
No. Well, they sell tasers to civilians, so,
right?
And you can carry it.
Yeah.
It's a piss poor substitute for a pistol.
I understand that, but
it is.
Something is better than nothing.
And I'm sure they will correct this later on.
Yeah, they'll add tasers to it.
Well, yeah, because I'm sure they'll give exception to police officers.
Oh,
but no, I don't think they want to.
No, I don't think they want to.
I don't think they want to. This is
So if you are an officer, sheriff's deputy, constable's deputy, or federal agent, and you're going to go out and drink, and you want to avoid the Class A misdemeanor they can probably put on you, then because that's what it is. It's a Class A misdemeanor. Then I would not drink.
Yeah.
Or go lock your weapon up in your trunk. And then, that's an exception under the DWI statute. But then,
Well, it's not good to drink and drive. We're not saying that police officers should be able to drink and drive or be intoxicated in public. What we are suggesting is that they will use it if you've had a sip of beer and you're involved in some sort of disturbance or shooting or something like that.
Yeah, because you could be
any measurable amount.
You can still be 0.04.
Yeah.
And drive.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes.
But you cannot be 0.04 and driving with a gun.
Yeah.
And that's actually a higher offense because the DWI is a Class B misdemeanor,
mm-hmm.
and the carrying of the weapon would be a Class A misdemeanor.
Oh, they're going to be adding that to everybody who's got a gun now.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
So,
it's a higher offense.
When you think about it, let's say you're not 0.08, you're 0.04, right? You would think still operating a vehicle would be more dangerous than carrying a weapon in that. And
it is.
Yeah. But you can still technically operate your vehicle,
mm-hmm.
but not carry a weapon because from what I can tell, all through House Bill 1927 is the term intoxicated is not thoroughly defined.
Mm-hmm.
So
I don't think they want it to be.
You don't think so?
No, that's more subjective. The more they can put it on people.
Oh, that's true. Okay. Nevertheless,
maybe I'm reading something Machiavellian into it, but
I think it's going to be the same standard as public intoxication, I suspect.
Yeah.
Which is a threat or a danger to yourself
or others.
Yeah. So a lot of thinking to do, a lot of consideration. You need to read your statutes as they come out because they are constantly being updated. And thanks for joining us here. We look forward to your comments down below. If you have anything to add, please do so. And we read all the comments.
Any questions too, please.
Like and subscribe. And We'll see you in the next video.